All right, welcome everyone. Today we're going to break down a really fundamental shift in how we think about mental health. We're talking about a global movement that's built on one simple but incredibly powerful idea, that the people with personal experience should be the ones leading the change. We'll look at its core ideas, its structure, and what it's going to take to grow. So let's jump right in. Let's start with this, because honestly, it sets the stage for everything we're about to discuss. This is not just about making services a little bit better. No. This is about reframing the entire conversation as a matter of human rights. It's a direct response to a long, long history where big decisions were made for people instead of with them. And that principle, it guides everything else.
Okay, so to really get where this movement is going, we first have to understand why it even exists. What is the deep-seated need that's fueling this whole global effort?
At its absolute core, this movement is led by people who've actually walked the walk. We're talking about individuals who've personally navigated mental health challenges, psychiatric treatment, you name it. This isn't some abstract academic theory. It's a collective push to reshape an entire sector from the inside out. The whole goal is to shift the power back to where the real expertise has always been, with the folks who have lived it.
And these three principles, they're basically the fuel for the engine. You've got hope, which is all about that genuine belief that recovery is not just possible, but it's an attainable journey. Then there's empowerment, making sure people are in the driver's seat of their own care and have a real say in the system itself. And finally, recovery, which isn't some one-size-fits-all thing. It's a personal, holistic journey. You put them together, and you have the absolute bedrock of the movement.
All right, so we've got the foundation. But what does this movement actually do? What does it look like on the ground? Let's break down the key pillars of the work. This table really lays out the whole strategy. And you can see it's not just one thing. It's about advocacy and leadership, creating clear pathways for people to become leaders. It's about consumer-driven initiatives, programs designed and run by people with lived experience. But it also goes deeper. We're talking about developing alternatives to traditional psychiatry, fighting stigma head-on, and creating real jobs through peer work. There's even a whole academic field called MAD Studies, which looks at all of this through a social justice lens. It's a full-court press for systemic change.
So, to make this really tangible, let's zoom in on those consumer-driven initiatives. These aren't just ideas, they're actual, real-world services. Take peer respites, for example. Instead of a hospital, it's a non-clinical, supportive, home-like space for someone in crisis. Or clubhouses. These are community hubs that offer connection, support, and purpose. These are spaces built by us, for us, based on what we actually need.
Okay, so we see the what, the pillars of action. Now, let's talk about the how. How does the movement actually engage with the bigger mental health system to make all this change happen?
This spectrum here is basically the game plan. It starts simple, at step 1, inform, which is just sharing information back and forth. Then you move up to consult, where they're actively asking for feedback. Involve is the next step, working directly with people. But the real goal, that's up at the top. Collaborate, or co-design, where we are equal partners at the table. And the ultimate prize, step 5, empower. That's co-production, where the final decision-making power rests with those who have lived experience.
And here's the absolute key takeaway. The whole point is to keep climbing that ladder. Getting asked for your opinion is one thing, and it's a start, but it is not the end game. The real, lasting, systemic transformation only happens when we get to genuine partnership and shared power.
All right, so the movement has its principles, it has its pillars, and it has a model for engagement. Sounds great, right? But now it's facing a massive challenge, a big one, and it's something that the next generation of leaders really has to tackle head-on.
And this is the million-dollar question. How do you take all of these incredible, powerful efforts that are happening in pockets all over the world and unite them into one truly global force? Because right now, the reality is that our efforts are fragmented. You could have a game-changing peer-run program in one city and a fantastic advocacy group in another country, and chances are they don't even know the other exists. They're working in silos, which means we're not sharing knowledge, and our collective power is seriously limited.
So the solution isn't to tell these groups to change what they're doing. That work on the ground is vital. The answer is to build the infrastructure, the connective tissue that links them all together into a unified global structure.
So what does that infrastructure look like? Well, first up, global frameworks. Think of this like a shared playbook for the entire movement.
These are documents that spell out a common vision and set international standards. That way, when a group in one country talks about co-production, it means the exact same thing as a group in another. We'd all be speaking the same language. Next, you need global databases. Imagine a single central hub, like the Lived Experience Hub, where all the movement's collective wisdom is stored. A place where you can find organizations, resources, and research. This would completely democratize access to information, so nobody has to reinvent the wheel. Whether you're a student or a seasoned leader, it's all right there for you.
And the third piece of the puzzle is a global ledger system. Now, this is all about transparency and holding people accountable. It would be a real-time system that tracks how and where lived experience is being used around the world. It's a way to measure our progress and, frankly, to prove our impact.
So, all of this leads us right here, to the blueprint for the future. We've seen the foundation, the pillars, and the global infrastructure we need to build. So, what now? What's the call to action?
Look, the future of this whole movement really depends on us. Right now, the choices we make today are going to decide whether lived experience becomes a true guiding force in mental health systems or if it just stays on the margins. This is our moment to turn vision into action. And building that future, it takes more than just passion. It takes infrastructure. It means we have to actually build these institutions, the global frameworks for our values, the global databases to share our knowledge, and the global ledgers to keep everyone honest. But more than anything, it takes people. People who are ready to step up and lead this charge.
And you know this saying, together with lived experience, we build better futures, that's not just some nice, hopeful quote. It's a statement of fact. It's a shared responsibility, and it's a shared opportunity to build a more just and compassionate world. The only question left is, who's ready to help build it?